And joining us now, he is the head coach at Northern Iowa. He's been become a regular on this show. I speak of our good friend Ryan Jacobs. Joins us back here on the show. Coach, how you doing?
Very good, Eric. How are you?
Pretty good. This is always fun. We did this last year. It was really a lot of success. So I love doing this. Big Four Classic coming up, where the Big Four Iowa schools get together. What's it like to when you get all of you around each other for that weekend? What's it like?
It's good. It's a great environment. I think it brings out a lot of fans, a lot of interested recruits. Obviously, this is recruiting time for everybody, and no matter where it's hosted, I think there's a lot of common recruits that all of us are looking at, and they come out and see everybody playing at one spot. And I think it's a great event. I know we all look forward to it every year, and this year the Iowa Hawkeyes get to host at their place. So it's just a cool event how it rotates and how everybody gets their opportunity to be the host of it, and it's just really good way to finish the fall for most of us.
Well, how has the fall gone for you so far, obviously? And what are some of the things you've kind of found out about your team so far this fall?
I think it's been a pretty normal fall. There's been a lot of learning, not only our freshmen but all of us together. I think there's a lot of learning that goes on. It's been pretty normal from the adversity standpoint, where there's upperclassmen that struggle with the learning curve for the younger kids, and they want them to get up to speed as fast as possible with the expectations and getting up to speed with the culture of the team. And for the most part, it's gone well. I see us right on track with like a normal season. Really been impressed with a couple of our freshmen, just at how they've been able to kind of be inserted in a lineup that has a lot of upperclassmen, a lot of experience, and they've just done well in matching that from their end. So it's been good.
When you reflect back on last season, what comes to your mind?
Ooh, missed opportunity. I feel like we did a really good job with the normal last year. Like we just handled the normal very well, but we didn't handle some of the higher moments of the season. We talked about it as a group. Hype anxiety, kind of. We get a game that was hyped up, or a game that was talked about, or a game that we felt like was important, more important than the norm. We didn't perform well, so that's something we've been trying to do this fall is talk things up a little bit more and get us out of the normal, even if it's from a mental standpoint. Um, so we just had a missed opportunity.
Obviously, internally, you always have high expectations, but how much of it was that because of maybe expectations outside? Because people know their program and the success you've had. Was that part of it? Do you think that played a role in that?
Yeah, and that's what goes with having success. I mean, that's just one of those pieces that you have to embrace. The better you get, the more people look at you, the more people actually try to bring you down. So you have to do a better job of embracing that, and taking it as a responsibility, individually and as a group, to be able to perform in those moments, and to be able to look over some of the things that are being said about you. But I don't know. One of my old coaches growing up always used to say it's always windier at the top of the flagpole than it is at the bottom. So the more you go up the flagpole, the more it's going to be difficult staying there. And so we're going to embrace it. We're going to find a way to get through it. And like I said, we found opportunities where we can get better last year, and so even having the year that we did, we still found places we can get better. So we're looking forward to doing that this year.
Yeah, regular season title. You had a top seed there. Ran into a hot Missouri State team in that championship game in the tough Missouri Valley Conference, which is only going to get tougher this season with new members in the league, including Murray State, who made the NCAA, Belmont, UIC. What's your thoughts on the new additions in the league?
I think it's great. I think it's great. Yeah, like you said, right away, it's going to add some competition to our league. They're great teams, good programs that we've been able to play in the non-conference in the past, so we know what we're getting from that standpoint. Very successful program, so it'll make a really tough league even better. And a lot of changes in our league this year, not just from a coaching standpoint. There's a lot of new faces, not a lot of new leaders. There's new conference game format where we're going 3-day series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just a lot of different things and new teams and new scheduling and two no plays, and then we get everybody into the conference tournament. So you may face off with a team that you haven't played in the conference tournament. I think there's just a lot of excitement, a lot of things. I think it's pushing our league forward, and we're forward thinking. So we're trying to do things that help our league stay in contention when it comes to the national scene.
What's your thoughts on the conference tournament now format? Do you like it?
I think it makes sense. I think our league's been tough, and our conference tournament format in the past has had a lot of people like dissect it and talk about it. And I think our purpose for it was very smart. And we know what it's like to go through the gauntlet throughout the year, and to win the conference regular season is a tough thing to do. So you should be rewarded for it. But this year, like I said, there's going to be two teams that every team has two teams that they're not going to play. So I don't know that the same value is going to be placed on winning the regular season. Yeah, it's going to still be tough, but there's still going to be two teams out there that you didn't play for whatever reason. And so I think giving it an equal playing field in the conference tournament, everybody has a shot. We're still going to seed the top four or have buys for the top four, which I think is, a reward for going through a tough league and being in the top four. But then everybody still has a shot, and I think that's just the fair way to do it. But it'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see thoughts on that after we go through the year.
Some new faces in the league, obviously not only with the programs but coaches. Obviously, with it's going to be kind of strange not to see Kerry Blaylock and Coach Fisher at Illinois State. What was your reaction when you heard the news on Coach Fisher and even Coach Blaylock?
Well, they've both been very integral in mentoring me throughout the whole process. I stepped into a league that, I wasn't new to the league, but I was obviously new to the coaches around the league 16 years ago. And they both did just a wonderful job of embracing me and teaching me the ropes. And Carrie's somebody who I've leaned on every year. We have conversations, quite regularly throughout the year. Even when we were competing against each other for conference championships, we still had very, very nice and professional conversations throughout the year. So, I'm just happy for them. I mean, they both had phenomenal careers and legends in the league, and still, people that I'm chasing. They've been my motivation too. Not only to be the type of coaches that they are, but their programs, like chasing that tradition that they've showed and they've had. So, at the end of this, hopefully I can say that I'm right up there with them at some point in my career too. So
Of course, they promoted from within, so they will probably be pretty similar, and that staff's well. How do you think Coach Sewell and Coach Kramer, that they'll probably just continue on with the what they've been doing over there at both places?
yeah, I don't think a whole lot will change from a systematic approach. I do know how it is when you miss one player. I've had years where we just lost one player off our team, and how that changes the dynamic. It changes the personality. It changes the way that every day works. Even though the structure is the same, you lose that one personality, and things are different. So I know they'll both do a fantastic job. I know they're supposed to both be still very competitive, but it'll be interesting to see how they change, because they're going to change with their personalities as well.
Of course, how much of an adjustment is it from scouting and preparation with three new members in the league? You're used to playing every team, the teams in the league every year. Now you got three new members. You haven't, how is that adjustment going to be like?
I guess I don't know. The biggest thing is we've played all of them recently, and so we have an idea. But I just think it's going to be digging in a little bit more, asking more questions, talking to teams that they've played, trying to gather as much information as we can on them. But I think with anything else, like, you can scout and scout and scout. Once you get on the field, it's out how you adjust that day, and how you see the game, and how you pick up on those things throughout the game. That's going to really help you really the most. So just getting on the field with them, and feeling it out and seeing it competing, I think we'll learn a lot.
Let's talk about your team this upcoming season. Of course, all focus in the circle with obviously Caitlyn Packard. Everybody knows about her and what she's done. What does she mean to your team? And then what do you have overall on the staff?
Yeah, I think obviously it starts with KP, and she's super excited to finish, her last season. But she's been doing a great job of mentoring some of our younger players, and Sammy Hire emerged as a pitcher for us last year and really helped us to that conference championship regular season because we had two quality arms in the circle. And it wasn't an instant thing for her right at the beginning of the year. It was more of a emergence towards the end of the year that she really kind of found herself and found her groove. So I'm excited to see both of them go into a regular season together, knowing that it's kind of a 1-2 punch rather than figuring it out throughout the year. But man, it could be a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch right now. From what I've seen in the fall, we have Haley Sanders, who's come on really strong and had some, small roles for us in the last couple of years, and then Anna Wisnowski, who was a freshman for us last year and didn't play at all, and has emerged this fall as somebody who's really worked her butt off in the summer to really come back and make herself a very viable option for us in the circle. So having 4 kids right now competing for it, and it's been fantastic. And I know Monica will do her job, and what I'm seeing today will be completely different than what we'll see in February.
How you feel about your offense going in? Who are some of the players that you think will lead your offense overall as far as returners as well as newcomers?
Well, we've been experimenting with it a little bit this fall in some of the scrimmage games that we've had and whatnot, and just trying to put different pieces in different spots. And I would tell you this, that there's always 5 bats that I'm sitting there going, why can't we get them in the lineup? So I feel like we're as deep as we ever have been offensively. And the other challenge that we've had to give some of our players this year is the fact that, we do have 8 hitters that played for us a lot last year that were in the lineup every day. And we're only missing one from that lineup. We have 2 freshmen that can fill that void at any second, and we have 4 players last year that are now sophomores that could fill that void. So there's a lot of options, but we've challenged everybody to be that starter mentality whenever they get out there this fall. And so there's never been a let up, and that's the thing that I think I've been the most impressed with. Is every other fall there's been that you put 4 of the starters in and then 3 of the kids that are normally role players, you can feel that drop off. Or if you play all 9 of your starters and then you put the new kids in, that there's a drop off. And that's what we haven't seen this year, is that it doesn't matter if it's a newcomer or a player that was a bench player last year or a starter. It's really felt like whoever's out there has the ability to be a starter. And so that's been a good thing offensively. And we scored a ton of runs, and in a lot of different ways. It hasn't just been like hitting home runs like it was in the spring. It's just been very, very good and very efficient from an offensive standpoint.
I know it was unfinished business and circumstances you alluded to earlier about not in the big moments last season, but I remember we spoke about a year ago at this time, and the big question obviously everybody had was, well, you lose Sammy Bunch, what maybe the greatest player ever in program history. How are you going to bounce back from that? Well, you won a regular season title with a lot of youth last year. I remember you were talking about a lot of youth, some questions, who's going to play certain positions. Can you take that as a kind of a positive? I know it wasn't internally the ultimate goal. You won the regular season and you want to win the conference tournament, get back to the NCAA, but you did accomplish a lot with some youth and maybe answered a lot of questions meant from people on the outside.
Yeah, I think traditionally, I think our MO here at UNI has been, we've taken kids that might be on the bubble from a talent standpoint or under recruited. And then they come into our program and they just excel, and people are scratching their head going, I didn't see that out of that kid, or where'd she come from, or things like that. And I think so from a tradition standpoint, we do a good job of developing our kids. And when we have an opportunity where we have players that come in as freshmen and they just do tremendous jobs, like Maya Dodge last year and Kylie Sanders, they both came in and did a great job for us as freshmen. Now it's to see them continue to develop. And the same as Emmy Wells the year before came in and did a great job as a freshman, and then won conference player of the year as a sophomore, defensive player of the year as a sophomore. And we're just going to continue to see her grow and develop. But then you see somebody like Taylor Hogan, who was a walk-on for us and walk-on for the diving team and the walk-on for the softball team, and now is an impact in both. Was diver of the year in the MVC and also short second baseman, first team for softball, who never got recruited. So I think just seeing the development of whether it's a kid who comes in with a ton of talent right away or a kid who comes in with, under recruited. We do a good job of developing our players, and I think that's the thing that's fun to watch.
Speak to that about your staff and helping the, with Monica obviously has been there, and of course Garrett and the entire staff. Just speak to that process of your entire staff and how you're able to find these players that are, however you want to, diamond in the rough, if you will, or however you want to describe it, and develop them to play their highest level.
Yeah, I think the key is finding players that are gonna they're gonna invest right away. They're not worried about some of the things that I don't know that might attract other student athletes. They're just worried about getting here and playing. They want a chance, and then they get into our system, and it's about hard work, and they're not afraid to put in the hard work. I had a lot of questions last summer about how did you do so well hitting? Like, what are you guys doing differently? And I'm like, nothing. We have better players that want to go in and work on their own, and they take what we give them. And not only are they doing it for the practice time that we allot, they're going in there extra on their own, and they're trying to get better at those things. And so when you have 20 players that are willing to do that, it shows up on the field. I think that's the key, is just the kids that we get, they're excited to put on the uniform and they can't wait to get here. And it's never a settle moment for them.
With the conference changes, and I know that for a fact, for example, you're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday now in the regular season conference schedule format, and talking to the other coaches in the league, and so much. How does all of that affect your non-conference schedule? Because you've always scheduled very difficult non-conference schedules. Now with the adjustments in league play, how does that affect how you schedule non-conference?
It hasn't yet. I mean, this year we've scheduled the same exact way that we always have. This year we're doing a 2-week trip down in Atlanta, and we're going Georgia State and the Georgia Tech and Mercer, and we're running the gauntlet down there. So it hasn't changed anything from our standpoint. Will it going forward? I don't know. I really don't. I feel like going into a three game series is just it was such a drastic change from playing 5 games in 3 days. Then you go into league and it's like, okay, we're going to play 3 games in 2 days. That was such a drastic change. I think even being gone one more day but only playing 1 game, it might even be less taxing than playing a doubleheader on Saturday. I mean, from a mental standpoint, I remember walking away from that first league series on Saturday going, oh my gosh, I'm so mentally drained from playing a doubleheader that it might be a little bit easier to go in. It's 1 game, get a rest, do it again. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that just feels.
Keep your players perhaps fresher. Obviously, gives you strategy wise, gives you some extra things to think about. Obviously, you're playing a single game, but still keep you fresh. And I know in talking, I've had Coach Soul on, Coach Hess, among others, and they all agree. Their goal, the whole big goal in this, is to try to be a multi-bid league like you have been. And so this is kind of I think Coach Sue even said it was again, we're kind of a trial by error. We'll see year by year what, if we have to adjust, we adjust. Is that how you feel as well?
Yeah, I think that's the name of the game. I mean, whatever puts you in the best possible situation, let's do what we need to do. And I think this is a good move for us. I really do. Um, I don't know if it'll change up anything at all. Really, it may be the same feel as it always has been. Um, but it'll be interesting to see, and all the other bigger conferences or the Power Fives, things like that. They're doing it, so we got to stay up with our competition and see what that's all about. We'll see if how it affects us.
No doubt about that. I want to ask, you and Coach Pinkerton are pretty competitive. I've talked to both of you about it. You both When was the last time you two played golf together or hung out there from a competitive standpoint off the field? I know you're competitive on the field when your teams play, but I know you're both competitive off the field too.
We haven't played golf for like 2 years.
Wow.
So it's been a while. It's been a little while. I would have to say he's probably avoiding me right now because I've gotten better. My daughter has picked up the game, and so she plays high school golf. And so now my off days, instead of going back to the softball field and going to her games,
Okay.
now we're going to the golf course. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to beat him. I'm just saying I've gotten better, but I have been gotten beat by a teenage female golfer pretty regularly. So my daughter's taking it to me on the golf course.
Well, that's all right. That's a good sign that she's getting better at there too. And Coach Packard, he's probably too obsessed with the Chiefs. It's football season. He's not gonna. He's probably too busy to play with the Chiefs there. I'm always curious when the four of you get together, who's the one that's cracking the jokes there of the four of you there?
Oof. I don't know if anybody's cracking jokes. We all get along pretty well though. We recruit a lot of the same kids, so we're constantly at the same games with each other, and so we're all have the ability to just go up and have a conversation. So it's very cordial, and it's a fun environment, especially like I said in the fall, where we're just trying to get innings with our kids and trying to see different things, and it's not really about winning, but it's more about just playing a high level competition. So when the four of us get together, what you're going to get. You're going to get some really good competition, some great talent, and some great coaching. So we get along pretty well.
It's great. But you mentioned you're all recruiting the same kids. The calendar in the state of Iowa is unique, which you can expand on a little bit. What is that like recruiting in the state? You're all basically looking at the same kids, but the calendar is a little different. What's it like recruiting in the state of Iowa?
It's a little different. It's all I ever have known, so I guess I couldn't say it's too different for me. But um, I would say your month of June is a grind because you're going weekends to travel ball tournaments, and then you're going Monday through Friday to high school games. And I've been known to drive 3 hours to watch a 7 inning game, and then it ends in the fourth, and then drive 3 hours home. But that might be the only time I get to see that kid play because she doesn't play travel ball, and I don't get to see her in the fall or the spring. And so I had to go do it. So there's some of those type of moments, but for the most part, I can see players pretty consistently in the fall from a high school standpoint. They play a lot of games in a short amount of time. So instead of watching just 3 or 4 games in a weekend or a day, I can see them throughout the season and go see them once a week if I need to, and maybe see a development change. They got better, they got worse, something like that. So that helps from that standpoint. But June is a very, very busy recruiting month all the way through the whole entire month.
I'm glad you mentioned the long drive back and forth because I've heard that from every coach. I've heard that from Renee. I've heard that from Pickers. So you all doing the same thing. That just blows my mind. The lengthy drives you got to do to recruiting, man. It's wild how what you all have to do to see talent. But hey, that's just part of the charm that is Iowa.
Yeah, and there's people that drive 5 hours down to Kansas City and only watch 5 innings of that kid anyways. So what's the difference, I guess?
Couple last things. I'm curious about the Missouri Valley from a instant replay standpoint. Where does that stand as far as the MVC?
It's mandatory this year. Everybody's all set up. I know we're just working through. We had just purchased all of our replay equipment, so going to get that tested out here this fall, and everybody should be online right from the get-go this year.
And then as you obviously kind of finish up the fall, and then before you know it, it's February. Where are some of the keys for this team to accomplish your internal goals?
Right now, we got to have some adversity. We got to find a way to challenge our players, make sure that we keep them fresh, but keep them challenged. I think with this group, with the kids that are now upperclassmen that played a lot as freshmen, it can get monotonous and it can get boring because it's the same stuff that they've been doing. So we've got to find a way to be creative and keep them challenged and engaged and individually motivated, to make sure that they keep getting better and they don't get stagnant and they don't get complacent to where they're at, and get their attention off of the awards that they received last year and get them focused on making sure our team's winning games going forward. So continuing to keep them challenged and find ways to create adversity, I guess.
No doubt. Well, Coach, always a pleasure talking to you. I like our regular visits. Have fun the rest of this fall, especially at the Big Four Classic there up at Iowa. There does with Iowa hosting. Does that mean dinner's on Renee? Is that how that works now? The host gets to buy, or I mean, is that how that or no?
No, because what goes around comes around, and I'm not gonna barbecue out for them when they get here. So
Right, that's a great point. You're thinking long term. Like, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to do that when I'm hosting. I got you. Pretty smart. Pretty smart. Well, enjoy that event and the rest of the fall, Coach. We look forward to seeing your team on the field before you know it. Thanks for always taking the time to talk to us, and we'll talk to you soon.
you bet, Eric. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.